Hello, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Beth Pawlowski, and I've been asked to speak on God's faithfulness in my life. I've seen His hand of faithfulness repeatedly in my life. To share most recently, though, I want to go back about 2.5 years. My husband Ed and I were living in a different home, living in a different town. I was working in a different ministry, and a member of a different church, and God has been so faithful to direct our steps over all these changes. Moving was something Ed and I desired and planned for, so we were excited when God led us to our home in Crown Point. However, God calling me to step down as director of a thriving children's ministry was not something I expected. I loved the work and was affirmed by the congregation and leadership, serving with over 75 strong, wonderful volunteers, effectively reaching the children in our church and the community. However, over the course of a few short weeks in 2019, I felt very clearly that God was saying, "I'm done using you here." It was a very confusing time when I thought with my head, but when I thought with my heart and my spirit, I knew I needed to step down. I was following what I believed and trusted to be God's will. And when I resigned, so many well-meaning people asked why. I remember I couldn't even give them an answer that I felt would logically satisfy. The Bible's full of examples of people walking by faith into situations that in earthly terms don't make sense. As month after month went by, I clung to God's promise of faithfulness. Psalm 37:5 tells us to commit our way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. I wasn't sure how God planned to use me in the future, but most days I had hope that He would still have good deeds that He put in advance for me to do. About 7 months after I resigned, God sent another completely unexpected change our way, as we sensed that He was having us seek out a different church. I was sad to leave my church family of 17 years who I'd grown with the Lord, but once again, God stirred in my heart the desire to follow His leading and obey. He graciously brought us to Hillside, where we've been welcomed by a whole new wonderful group of Christ followers. God is so faithful. I'll have to let you know, though, I searched for a new church began with visiting churches in the area that friends attended, but my husband and I did not sense the Lord saying to stay at any of those. And so we got online, and Hillside was the first church that we read through doctrine and things about the church. So we came in December of 2019. Pastor Tony preached a great message, but at the end he said, "It's been wonderful serving here for 17 years, and I'm really going to miss you all when I go to California." And I'd been through pastor changes and staff at my old church, and I was telling God, "Lord, find us a church that has stability, and I don't want any more changes in my life." Didn't you know this, God? And the next week we came back. I only came back to scratch off Pastor Josh off my Hillside off my list to continue pursuing and finding a church. And yet it didn't take long for God to show us that this is where He wanted us to be. Do you ever praise God for unanswered prayers? I do. He certainly knows better than us. Well, God lovingly allowed me to settle into my new church home and my new house and community before He brought the calling to become a local missionary for Child Evangelism Fellowship in the spring of 2020. Once again, He provided for me, as He so often does, when we look to Him for direction and submit to His will for our lives. I've only been at Hillside about 1.5 years. I don't have the history that some of you have here, and I don't even know the history of Hillside's walk with the Lord. But I know here at Hillside, I'm among believers who are pursuing the Lord and the Lord's will. Be encouraged in the truth of Psalm 37:5. Commit your way to the Lord, trust in Him, and He will act. We have a faithful God. Thank you.